Welcome to the California Nevada chat of Friday, April 26th, 2024. My name is Len Dumas, Executive Director for the Northern California PGA. And on behalf of our President, Eric Lippert, and our colleagues, Executive Director, CEO Nikki Gatch, Executive Director Emeritus Tom Addis, and President Eric Lohman of the Southern California PGA, we once again thank you for the continued support of our chats. And our honor team, Steve Monday, Bryce Seaver, Shelby Zell, and Danny Cross, for making sure that we're coming through loud and clear. We've got a great special session this morning, live from Frisco, with a couple of our NCPJ and SCPJ members who are prepping for the PGA Professional Championship, which begins first round on Sunday, the road to Valhalla, which is about 2 weeks away. So we'll have Ryan Williams from the Northern California PGA and Kyle Mendoza from the SCPJ to join us. And Kyle and Ryan, thanks for being here. Craig Kessler, our Director for Public Affairs for the Southern California Golf Association, and will keep us informed of current legislation that we talked a bit about this morning and events that are really important to our industry these days. So President Lippert is not here, so I'll turn it over to our dear friend and colleague, Tom Addis. Tom?
Yeah, good morning, everybody, and it's nice to be here and filling in for Nikki as she's on a little bit of a holiday in the next couple of days. Welcome, everybody. It's nice to see you all, and you're experiencing some Southern California weather down there. Kyle and Ryan, it's right now here, it's misting and it's windy. And today in Beaumont, it's supposed to be about 55 degrees as a high. So,
nice.
Yeah, you're down in paradise where you are now. So enjoy that. Hopefully it'll stop. So it's nice to see everybody. We expect pretty soon our president, Eric Lohman, Len, to be with us.
Great.
He'll let us know when he checks in, and if he does, he'll be looking forward to making a few remarks. So again, welcome and look forward to a nice hour with everybody.
Right. Well, thanks, Tom. So Kyle, we'll start with you. I'll give a little bio for everyone, and then turn it over to Tom. Kyle is the head golf professional at Hacienda Golf Club. Been a PGA member since 2019. Finished fifth in the 2024 Southern California PGA Professional Championship, making his fourth start in the National PPC. And with Brother Mike, I understand Brother Mike is also there, and winner of the 2020 and 2021 Southern California PPC. And Kyle, thanks for joining us. And Tom, and take it from here.
Yeah. Kyle, again, hello and good morning. And it's nice that you take the time to join us for a few minutes. Also, congratulations to your brother. It's not too often. We might need to check the records on that, unless you have, that a brother combination is participated and played in our PPC. So that's kind of fun, and be able to watchdog that a little bit to see what happens between the two of you.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. This is actually the second year in a row. He played in it last year to Mexico with me, and you know, our ultimate goal would be for both of us to qualify for the PGA Championship. I think that'd be, you know, not only cool for us, but for our family as well.
Yeah, it'd be a nice story as well. You know, you've I don't want to say you really burst on the scene, but you really have. You gained your PGA membership, what, in 2019? Obviously a good player way back then, 5 years ago. But your record since becoming a PGA member, a two-time section champion, which is really something to be proud of, and now a new job at Hacienda, or basically a new job at Hacienda Golf Club, one of the premier golf courses and facilities in Southern California, previously living in Oceanside and now in Menifee, California, which is still quite the commute. How do you put all that time together? How do you put everything together to maintain your family, maintain your golf game, and maintain your position at Hacienda? It's got to be a tough thing.
It can be, yeah. Last year was a tough one. I had started there in October of 22, so I knew the first year or so of me being there was going to be tough because I'm seeing everything for the first time. Tournaments and operation for a whole year, so I knew it was going to be a little difficult. And last year in New Mexico, I played okay, but I don't think I was as ready for that tournament as I had been in the past. And mainly because of just having a new job. And again, and that's great. That's part of what we do is a big part of what we do is to be a club professional first and not necessarily a professional golfer. So that was fine. Now that I've been there for 16, 17 months, the last few months have been a little easier, more of a, kind of a cut and paste thing. I mean, there's improvements we made to events and operation here or there, but this is more of the second full year there, and kind of have a little more understanding of how things are done there. So the time the last couple of months has been a little easier. I couldn't do any of this without my family, and particularly my wife. Especially with us moving a couple of weeks, she took on a big part of that, if not all of it. And so, she's very understanding. And so are the kids when I have to not only go to work for 8 to 10 hours, but, put in 2 or 3 hours of practice, before or after, or even come home and do, a putting session for an hour in my house, whatever it is. They've been really understanding about it.
Yeah, I've had the nice opportunity to meet your family at a couple of championships, and I admire the way you all stick together. It's pretty cool to see your family at some of these championships. Also, I admire you professionals who can handle a job like Hacienda, as I said, a big job, and still do what you do on the golf course, and still do what you do with coaching and instruction. So congratulations for that. And that challenge, you seem to be meeting that very well. So good for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And the support I have from now the management team at Hacienda, but also to the membership, that all of that encompasses me being able to do this. Without any part of that chain, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I'm extremely lucky and blessed to be able to have that. I some clubs you get a job there, and they don't necessarily want you playing as much. And so I'm lucky where I'm in a spot where they allow me to play a little bit, and they support it. There's a lot of phone calls and text messages I got before I left, wishing me luck. And I know if things go well when we go to Valhalla, there's going to be a big following from that club to head over there as well, which will be super cool.
Yeah, before we move to Ryan, and we just noticed that our president came on, and before we move to Eric to say a couple of words, what about the championship this coming week? You played the golf course a week or so ago, you mentioned. What are you looking forward to? What are the expectations with the golf course, and what's your outlook?
Well, my initial thought, the golf courses, both of them are really good, especially the East course, which is the main course we're playing, where they're having the PGA Championship in a few years. It's not as demanding off the tee. There are some bunkers in good places, but it's such a second shot golf course. The greens aren't, they're big, but some of them kind of sit at some weird angles. If you miss a green, you need to make sure you miss it in the correct spot. And it can play long. I don't know. I doubt they're going to set it up, obviously, over 7,400. But one of the days my brother and I played it at 7,800, and it was blowing 30 the whole time. And I played some of the best golf I could play and shot 75. So, it's obviously they're not going to play it that tough. But the golf courses, it's cool to go somewhere for this tournament where both golf courses are going to challenge everybody. And that it's you're not going to be able to get away with a lot. You need to be able to control your ball. You need to be able to understand where you need to hit it strategically. And it's definitely going to take some good playing, and it's gonna produce the 20 best golfers that we have this week is going to produce that. If you're not playing well, you're not going. It's pretty simple this week.
Yeah, some people were worried and have been concerned that being a new golf course, that you'll have some of the new golf course traits, whether the greens would be ready, whether the surrounds would be ready, that kind of stuff with a new golf course. But I've not played it. I've been on it a couple of times, and even 6 months ago, it was sort of ready. And I think they've done a wonderful job, at least from my viewpoint, on building the golf course, preparing the golf course for major championships, because they're jumping right in with the majors, and this being the first. So I'm glad to hear that, happy to hear that, and happy you feel that way.
Yeah, it's definitely ready. The green surrounds are good. The greens when we were out here a couple weeks ago weren't super firm. And so yeah, some of those characteristics you get on a new golf course, they're not like that. It's really good. And out of the 4 that I played in, I'm probably the most excited to get going this week, just because like I said, it's a ball strikers golf course, and it's a golf course where you have to have your wits about you. You have to have your game. And with the weather that we have coming up, it's supposed to be rainy. The rest, I don't think so much today, but tomorrow and Sunday, and I tee off. I think I'm the first group off at 7 o'clock on Sunday when it's going to be rainy and windy already. So, just stay patient this week and then get those first day or two with the weather, and then after that, it's going to be just a dogfight all the way home. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we're looking forward to watching you. One more question, and then we'll move along. Have you been to Valhalla? Are you familiar with Valhalla at all?
I have not been there. I'm familiar with it. One of the best PGA championships ever played was there in 2000, which I watched a lot of. And then in 2014, that was a good tournament to watch too on the back nine. And I watch a lot of old golf tournaments on YouTube. That's always one of them. 2000. I watched 2014 last week, and then watched a lot of old Masters getting ready for that tournament last week too. So I'm familiar with Valhalla. It looks great. I've never been there, but hopefully we can change that.
Yeah, it's a good one, and look forward to seeing you there, and saying hello there, and pushing you on at Valhalla. So thanks, and I hope you're going to stick around while we talk with Ryan.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, Kyle, very, very much. Len, do you have anything for Kyle, or?
Yeah, Tom, I do. Thank you. And Kyle, thanks for joining us. And you kind of mentioned it, particularly now with the weather being what it is. How do you handle all this downtime? You're heading there with expectations, ready to practice, ready to do your thing in terms of preparation for the event. And now you're shut down for a bit. And then part 2 of that is, we always talk about starting times. What do you prefer? Early, late, early, so on and so forth. So all those tied to it. How do you handle that downtime?
Well, to answer the first question, the weather, we knew last week how it was going to be. So I had already prepped on making sure I got a lot of practice done in the last 7 to 8 days. Just looking forward to the weather. Knew it was going to be a little sketchy on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, as far as pricing goes, if we don't end up pricing today, that's not a big deal. I just finished up a workout this morning, and so all of the body movement stuff is there. It's not like my body's not going to move correctly just waiting around. And as far as the tee time situation, I prefer to go late early, just because I don't like not being on the golf course for over 24 hours. But I don't mind an early start the first day, just because I've been on the other side of it, where the first round you're teeing off at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and it's like you just want to get going that first day. It just get it all. Get all the nervous energy out. And so 7 o'clock in the morning, first day, that means I'm up at 4. So I'm not going to have any of that nervous energy waiting around. I can I can wake up and get into my workout stuff in the morning and get going right at 7 o'clock. That's kind of more ideal, I think, for this week. So I'm not too worried about the tee time stuff, but Yeah, the weather thing, you just have to make sure you're keeping your body going and keeping your body loose. And I brought all my indoor stuff for putting, so I'll probably have a good putting session in here tonight if it's too windy or too wet out there. So it's all good on my end.
That's great. Appreciate that. Appreciate those comments. That's pretty good insight. Why don't we take a couple of minutes here and welcome the Southern California PGA president from Monarch Beach Golf Resort and a former player and participant in the PPC himself, Mr. Eric Lohman, to say a couple of words.
Good morning, Tom. Thanks, Len, and everybody. Appreciate the opportunity. I just, listening to Kyle talk, first off, I'm jealous that I'm not there with them all, but I also realize that that's a different world that they live in compared to I live in. Because when you hear Kyle, who obviously we all know is one of our best players, a really good golf professional, but just a really good competitor. And when you see his work ethic and the amount of effort he puts into his game and the way he thinks through it, it's just a different mindset than, let's say, when I went to those two championships, the first being the one that Block won in Myrtle Beach, and then the second one in Philadelphia at the Cricket Club. I think I was more concerned with how close is the Starbucks, where can I get a good slice of pizza, and where can I get a cocktail as quickly after that disastrous round as possible. But to hear those guys and just know what they're going into and getting into, I'm just want to wish all of the competitors in Northern California and Southern California and Nevada, the best of luck. And it's just such a unique experience. For me, I was just going to enjoy it and to be a part of it and to compete at the highest level that I'll probably ever compete at. But with these guys, they have the mindset that they could win. They have the mindset to make a big check and to make it to further things like the PGA Championship, or in Michael's case, qualifying for future tournaments and things like that. So just wish them all the luck, and it's great to hear, and I just great to see what they put into it, because they definitely get more out of it. With that being said, just want to have everybody have a great day, great weekend. I'm just glad to be a part of it, and thanks for including me.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks for being here, and Kyle, thank you. Len?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Kyle, Tom, and I'm sure we'll circle back to you, and hope you can join us for the rest of the chat. I'd like to introduce Ryan Williams, PGA member since April of 2021. Ryan was with Will Robbins Golf here in Northern California from 2015 to 2022, and joined Woodbridge Country Club as their teaching professional in September of 2022. And Ryan has been was a member of our Northern California PGA 2023 California Cup team. That was last December in Montecito. Finished fifth in the 2023 Northern California PGA Professional Championship, which qualified him for this round, and completed in the Elite Eight of our recent 2024 NCPGA Match Play Championship. So Ryan, welcome. First things first.
Thanks for having me, Len. Always great to see you.
Yeah. So Ryan, you've been just a bundle of excitement. It's been great to be around you these past couple months in terms of your playing and everything. So again, what's happening in Texas right now? And obviously the weather is pretty lousy, but you mentioned earlier you'll probably be out there later on today. Yes.
Well, I hope so. The practice facility, I just got a text being on this call that the practice facility's closed again, and the weather has gotten like it's the hardest. It's been raining the whole time looking out. We've been on lightning and tornado watch, so not exactly the best day for preparation, but I love how Kyle put that, and it sounds like he and I think about things remarkably similar in terms of, well, one, I remember him at our hotel in Santa Barbara, one of the other guys that would get up and work out before each of the rounds, so I really admired that about him. But as far as getting I feel like I've been physically ready for a little while. So like days like today, it's like everybody's in the same boat. And I went to the gym in my little hotel that I stayed at before my brother and my wife Emily get in. So yeah, just trying to keep ready and not freak myself out too much, which I tend to be pretty good at.
Yeah. So Ryan, have you been there before to Fields Ranch?
No, first time seeing the golf course was yesterday. as you know, our section championship last year was at a Gil Hans renovation, restoration, whatever verb for that Lake Merced is using. But I really enjoy this style of golf with firm and tight turf. And, to Kyle's point, it is pretty wide off the tee, which you probably need when the wind blows like it can out here. But approaches into greens and your ability to lag putt and the times you do miss greens, making sure it's in the right spots and handling the greens are pretty nuanced. I think that's going to probably be the biggest challenge, and the one who does that best has the chance to really put a good round together.
Yeah, so it's an interesting point, Ryan, that you bring up playing at Lake Merced last year in the championship, which is also a Gil Hans design similar to Frisco. So how do you match your game with the golf course? And a little tricky for you there because you haven't seen it yet. You haven't been out there. So as you look at your game in terms of the way you move the ball and in terms of the way the course flows, how do you feel they match up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm the longest hitter in the world. I mean, some of the guys on the SoCal team at Valley Club impressed the hell out of me just distance wise, but I don't think I'm on the shorter end of any field either. So I'm also not like the laser straightest, so I actually kind of like a little bit of room, and I always feel like my iron play is pretty solid. So controlling flights, just yesterday what stood out to me was you really had to match club selection, shot shape with the distance of the shot, meaning if you're going to ride the wind, you're going to have to play for the ball to release a little bit, or you can hold it against it. And that makes the ball hit the ground a lot softer. So, just committing to those sorts of things, I'm a spoiled jerk. I've been abandoned 10 times. So I really enjoy, just being challenged by something that's, sort of different right in front of you right now, rather than kind of like cookie cutter driving range golf where it's sort of the same thing over and over again. So I feel like that suits me, to be honest. And also, I feel like I'm a little bit more willing to play things along the ground when need be, just because I really enjoy links golf. So I felt like that helped me at Lake Merced. I'm hoping the same is true here.
As you have, hopefully, Ryan, the weather clears and everybody can get their practice rounds in. Are you planning to meet up with our other companions from Northern California or some friends that you might have from around the country who were there?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I mean, I'm pretty good at making friends where I go places. People know I like to talk and all that stuff. So I went to a sports bar and watched the draft last night and had a good time. And my twin brother just landed, so his Uber's on the way over here right now, and my wife gets in tomorrow. And I'm sure Brad's become a pretty close pretty close friend, and he's also a Packer fan. So maybe we'll nerd out over the draft a little bit. So. Yeah, and Mike, I don't know Pat very well, but Mike's from my area, as you know. So hopefully we'll all get together and have some dinner and all that.
That'd be great. I know that you have some family there, Ryan, which is really important, particularly when you're away, for 5, 6, 7 days to have them with you. It's a big deal.
Yeah, I was meant to have my dad here, but back in January he had a heart condition, so it's not super serious, but it's enough to where he's been kind of freaked out about, and justifiably so. So just with his blood pressure kind of going here, there, and everywhere, he stayed back in Fresno, which is my original hometown. But my wife's amazing. It sounds like Kyle's similar in this. We don't have kids yet, but I like to joke I have trouble putting my shoes on without Em because I've just gotten so used to Emily, running things. So a travel day even without her was kind of like, oh man, so it's good because she's usually just dialed with the Ubers and knowing all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to her being here and having another ugly dude that looks like me on the bag for me for the week's going to be fun too. So it'll be a good time for my brother and I.
Yeah, that's great, Kyle, and we wish the best for your dad, of course, and keep coming along. So, Ryan, as we get to 4 rounds, right? 4 rounds over 4 days coming up. How do you keep yourself in the now without getting out next round?
Well, that's a great question. I honestly, I would flip that coin over. I kind of look at it the opposite way. I sort of feel like it's easier to get immersed into playing shots and to be in the moment, the more golf you're playing, and you'll go into isolation and work on the things swing wise and sort of try to put yourself and get ready for these competitive moments. But when it's like it's for a pro series event, for example, those are once a month on average, right? But so you're coming into that moment, and that's more different than just the day-to-day, 5 days a week of coaching, maybe a skins game on a Monday, than, a few days worth of practice rounds and then 4 days of competitive golf. If I do make the cut, I hope to think that I feel like I'm playing better golf and more in the flow by the end of the week than I would be at the beginning. And that was certainly the case at our match play. Even though Stewart beat me, I felt like I was playing better and freer by the end of that match than I was the Monday at Quail Lodge.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. Tom?
Hey, Ryan, did I hear you say you are from Fresno?
That's right.
All right. I grew up on the airways. I don't know. Does that place still
Of
exist?
course.
Yeah.
It does. As a matter of fact, when I was at Will Robbins Golf and major thing, you PGA executives will be well familiar with Will. I wouldn't be a PGA member without him. Cut my teeth coaching there. So huge thank you to Will. And I would like to acknowledge the membership at Woodbridge and my boss, John Hughes, and our general manager, Ryan Bill, club president, Cody Deedy. Just very lucky to have a bunch of great students and other managers and board members and people around me. But yeah, our old general manager at Empire Ranch was at Airways for like 17 years. You might know Rick Fansler. So
Yeah, my dad started there as an assistant, and I grew up caddying there, and then when I was 10, actually, but then we moved to Madera. But that's great. Used to play a lot at the Fort and of course Sunnyside. So good for you. That's a great area. So enjoyed it very
heck
much.
yeah. My dad lives in those condos on the back of the range at San Joaquin. At one point, my mom and stepdad belonged at Sunnyside Fort. My mom and stepdad lived right by there. That was my high school's home course. So you're my area of the world, man.
Very nice. Very good. Thank you. Good luck to you guys.
Thank you, Tom.
Hey, thanks, Tom. Hey, Ryan, has your brother been on the bag for you before?
Ooh, that's a great question. Our relationship on a golf course growing up would be adversarial, would be a kind way of putting it. I mean, we were both pretty competitive, and I'm pretty nice to most people, but for whatever reason with my brother, it's like you guys know how siblings are, but that times 10, I'm sure if my high school friends were here, they'd tell you like a million stories anyway. But nothing for anything like this. But my brother is a mechanical engineer. He's on the Apple camera team. Like he designs the cameras that I'm looking through right now. He's very detail oriented. So as far as like talking through every golf shot, really understanding the options in front of me, I don't think I could have someone better. He's been pouring over the course the last few months. So anyway, I'm looking forward to it.
That's great, Ryan. So have you worked out responsibilities? Here's what I need you to do, and so on and so forth. And could that emotional tie, every now and then work against you a little bit?
Well, I think the advantage would be he's going to know how my mind's working, and he's going to know when a tendency of mine, especially when I'm nervous, is to move a little bit too fast, because it's like kind of just want to get the moment over with, is something I've noticed about myself. But he'll be more thorough, and I don't think we're going to make silly decisions like I've done a couple times. There's one driver off the deck at open qualifying at Olympic Club that stands out. But as far as like the things I would worry about him, just knowing him, that if I'm not asking, I don't need you to insert yourself in that moment. Like almost like a less is more thing, sort of, because I play pretty fast, and as Michael knows, but so yeah, just not putting too much in there. If I'm ready to go, let's just go.
Awesome. So Ryan, as we talked about with Kyle, in terms now you have a late early round one. You are at 104 on the West Course on Sunday, and then Monday 744 on East. Do you like that mix? Do you like that turnaround?
It's a good question. I saw Kyle's point to just wanting to get out there the first day. It seems like, I don't know if it's a last name thing, but like Monterey Open every year, I'd always be late. I've just always been late early when it's in events like this. So, it's been a few years since I played, a proper, especially a 72 hole cut. But yeah, it is what it is. I can't play until they announce my name, right? So hopefully get a good round in Sunday afternoon, and then just get up on Monday and keep the momentum going. Would be the story I'd choose to believe in that situation.
That's great, Ryan. Thank you, and Kyle, thank you. And we've got a wonderful California representation in Frisco. And Tom, I'll turn it over to you. Let's run down the Southern California players. Then I'll mention the Northern California players. All right. Looks like he's frozen. All right, give him a moment to unfreeze. But in the meantime, our Northern California contingent. Yep. Ready, Tom? No.
Yeah, you can't hear me?
Okay, you were frozen there for a moment, but you're live again.
Am I good?
Yep.
All right, that's what I do. I freeze when I go on the mic. I don't know if anybody heard anything at all, but we're lucky to have 15 players in the PPC this year. Of course, you've met Kyle. We have Simon Allen from the Plantation, Michael Block, who's our 2014 champion of the PPC, as well as the 22 and 23 PGA Professional Player of the Year, and everybody knows about his great PGA Championship last year. Bruce Bussey from Hillcrest Country Club, Thomas Chu from San Diego Country Club. From Coronado, we have two players with Brian Smock and Mark Geddes. Steve Holmes from Rustic Canyon, Lion Lazare from Eric's place, Monarch Beach Golf Links. Kyle, of course, from Hacienda, and his brother from South Hills Country Club, where Kyle was an assistant for a long time. Bruce Nakamura from Aviara Golf Academy, Kenny Pigman from Shandon Hills, Steve Saunders from Temecula Creek Golf Club, and Logan Scott from Oakmont Country Club right here in Southern California. So we wish the entire contingent, and I forgot Jeff Dean from PGA West. Wish everybody the best and to have a great championship this coming week.
Thank you, Tom. In Northern California, we have from Lake Merced, Pat Steffes, and Pat 2 weeks ago took over and won our 2024 match play championship. So we look forward to Pat and also congratulate him on that. And that also earns a spot in the Barracuda coming up in just a couple months. Brian Keck, teaching professional at the Preserve. Tom Johnson. Tom is the director of instruction at the Meadow Club and also had a great finish, tied for 30 in the 2023 Fortinet right here at Silverado. Brad Merrick. Brad has been to the PGA and is a teaching professional at Chuckerica Golf Course in Alameda. Mike Nicoletti. Mike is at Granite Bay. And of course, Ryan Williams, Ryan teaching professional at Woodbridge Golf and Country Club. So gentlemen, as Tom says, it's great to have, so many, right? It's great to have 21 professionals from the state of California there. Our best of luck to everybody. And, we'll be watching you. We'll be cheering for you as best we can. So Kyle, Ryan, good luck. Hope you get out there soon and keep going. Keep going. We're thinking about you.
Thank you so much, Len. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Guys. Yeah. Best to you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you all for that. Very exciting. And again, just a reminder, this Sunday, Kyle is off to the West Course at 7 a.m. for round one, and then round two will be the East Course. That'll be Monday at 12:30 p.m. And on Sunday, again, Ryan will be on the West Course at 1:04, and on Monday, round two will be at 7:44 on the East Coast. So again, I'm sure we'll all be tracking everybody that's representing us. And finally, turn it over as we do to Craig Kessler. Craig is the Director of Public Affairs for the Southern California Golf Association. And we did have a legislative session this morning. It went over a couple things that are important to us in terms of bills that are out there. and as importantly, our Capital Day coming up this next Tuesday. So Craig, we'll turn it over to you. Thanks for being with us once again.
Well, thank you, Len. Thank you, Tom. I'm going to surprise you a little bit today, Len. Usually you tee me up and ask me to speak about state issues, and then I change the subject immediately. But today I think I'm going to talk almost exclusively about some state issues, and not so much our Capital Day next Tuesday. I can report after that. But something that's been increasingly common in the last few years. It's not that many years ago that I can recall that when people would ask me if I spent a lot of time in Sacramento, I would say, no, not really. Most of what affects golf is at the regional, the local level, water retailers, water wholesalers, planning commissions, city councils, boards of supervisors, things like that, and much less so at the state level. But the last 4 or 5 years have been a really interesting ride. I'm sure this audience particularly remembers everything we did and eventually succeeded in getting, I wouldn't call it a carve out, but getting some kind of dispensation on the whole independent contracting issue for PGA professionals and also for youth sports coaches. I'm sure everyone remembers the AB 672 1910 wild ride when the state wanted to put up hundreds of millions of dollars of free public money to develop municipal golf courses throughout the state. And the ones that would be most in jeopardy were precisely the ones where all of our organizations have invested millions of dollars into developing the next gen and growing and diversifying the game, whether it's PGA Junior League or SCGA Junior Golf Foundation or Youth on Course or First Tee. Those were the very facilities that would be endangered. So so I'd have to say, so that, as I've always said, it's hard to grow and diversify a game if you lose all the places where you're trying to do that. Moving on to prescriptions on the use of potable water to irrigate what was called non-functional turf. Well, we know golf courses are quite functional, and we got golf courses specifically referenced into that bill last year. And that has been copied and pasted into all kinds of local ordinances ever since. And so we're not in the same kind of jeopardy that the national game's been faced because of some arcane language that was put in some IRS codes back in the late 70s that sometimes harms the ability of golf courses that have suffered floods, earthquakes, whatever, fires, to get relief when the relief comes with special bills or special emergencies as opposed to FEMA, which is a more permanent nature. And of course, there was no exception this year. I'm a little bit sorry to see Eric Lohman. I'm always sorry to hear Eric Lohman go off a broadcast because he's not only a great golf professional, but he's genuinely, he should, when he retires, he ought to consider a career in stand-up comedy because he's generally one of the funniest human beings I've ever met. In a good way, I might add, not in a bad way. I imagine it's a hoot to take a golf lesson from him, probably very, 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 very entertaining. But he happens to be the GM at a facility that would have been, or at least, let me go back a little bit, when Assembly Bill 3192 was dropped on us on February 16th, it contained a provision that would have put a blanket ban, a 100% ban on the use of all non-organic fertilizers and pesticides on anything called a golf resort. And a golf resort was variously defined, depending on amendments to the bill, as either a golf course attached to 300 rooms or 250 rooms in California's coastal zone. It was difficult to say exactly how many resorts would fit into that, but certainly in its first iteration, Pebble Beach, La Costa, Pelican Hill, Monarch Beach immediately come to mind. Ironically, the real focus of the bill was Terranea, which is just a 9-hole 3-par in the middle of what's otherwise a very large resort on the backside of the PV Peninsula. But clearly, I think it would have been impossible to hold the AT&T, and if Torrey Pines had been involved, it was arguable whether that would have come under the terms of the bill. I don't know how you have great championships. So the USGA has 5 national championships planned for Pebble Beach in the next 16 years, 3 men's US Opens and 2 women's US Opens. if you can't treat the nematodes on the greens and on the Monterey Peninsula in the summertime in particular. So with all of that, we went into a bit of a panic mode. There were some other provisions of that bill that we found problematic, but not necessarily game breakers, for us. So, but I'm happy to report that that the bill, as it has now moved out of committee and is moving to appropriations in May, instead of containing a ban on the use of non-organic fertilizers and pesticides, it speaks in terms of an authorization to use them to the degree to which, and I'm quoting the language pretty much verbatim, the degree to which that non-organic alternatives fit for intended use and proven effectiveness are not available. In other words, and since there are very few that are available, in essence, for the most part, it's business as usual. There's some auditing procedures that are involved in that every couple of years, and the golf resorts are going to have to pay for the auditing. But probably better to have, but those audits are going to be by independent firms and not the state, which tend to be much more adept at it. In addition, the bill originally had language about private action being able to invoke complaints for those facilities violating its provisions. And now it's administrative actions through the Coastal Commission, which for reasons that are too complicated to go into here are much less onerous and considerably more accurate. So as a result of the author of the bill and the sponsor of the bill, and by the way, the sponsor of the bill was a labor union, not an environmental group, accepting the language that we put forward as a condition of removing our opposition. That language is in the bill as it moves forward. And I don't know the prospects that the bill has to become law. There's a lot of hurdles. It made it through its committees of reference, policy committees. It's on its way to appropriations. One never knows whether something's going to go through or not. My prediction, it's more likely than not it goes through and goes to the floor. How it fares in the Senate is anybody's guess. The other houses often look, unless there's a companion bill on the same subject, other houses often look a little dimly on things that come out of the other one. But whatever happens, should the bill go through, or should it not go through this year and get picked up in a subsequent year, it'll get picked up with the language that was put into it in order to get golf to pull its opposition. I've gone into great detail because increasingly these are the kinds of things that are laser focused. In years past, yes, there were bills, regulations that certainly affected golf courses, but they affected all kinds of businesses. They weren't targeted at golf. But and independent contracting wasn't targeted at golf, but there was a specific niche of the golf industry that felt like it was targeted. And I think I'm talking to that audience right here. It's PGA golf professionals. But with Assembly Bill 1910 that aimed at chopping up municipal golf courses, or certainly with this bill that singled out what they referred to as golf resorts and then banned the use of substances that are essential to run quality golf courses, we're increasingly, if we don't stand up in Sacramento and defend our interests, no one else is going to stand up. Now, there was quite a bit of other opposition, but that was from the hospitality industry because there were a number of things involving the operation of hotels that we don't get involved in, that certainly they got involved in moving forward. And my guess is they'll continue to oppose this bill, and that may consign it to the dustbin ultimately before it gets to the governor's desk. That remains to be seen, and we'll continue to track it. But the good news is we'll be continuing to track something that we don't consider that we can definitely live with as an industry. And I think that's a sign of something as I'm stringing together what amount to a lot of what I would call legislative successes, that whereas 6-7 years ago, our star was pretty dim in our state capital, it seems to be brightening and brightening and brightening as the years go by. And I think we should be encouraged by that. Particularly because I know probably better than anybody just how slim the resources are that we put to this. So I believe that if we can accomplish that much, having not put much skin in that particular game, if we're able to put more skin to scale it up, I think we can be amazing. And never forget, our ace in the hole is that little north of 3 million persons play the game of golf, and they live in 80 different assembly districts, 40 different state senate districts. And they are, unlike the interested parties who make money off the game, their interest is a passion. And ultimately, in the political sphere, that passion matters for more than the financial passion. And if we learn nothing else, not so much from this exercise, this was very much an inside game. And yes, there were maybe somewhere between 6 and 8 golf properties that were effective. But think about it for a moment. If the legislature were to have made a finding that somehow any golf course in the coastal zone, whether it had 300 hotel rooms or not, is totally irrelevant to a prescription on the use of fertilizers and pesticides, then it's just a small step for an environmental group to suggest, well, if it's not okay for golf resorts, why is it okay for golf courses that just happen to not have hotel rooms? What's the difference? And that brings, I don't know how many of our 1,000 golf courses in the state into play going down the line. And that's how important these things are to the industry. So it's not, this one was less visible, I think, than some of the other campaigns we did. It was probably less visible to this audience. This audience was viscerally interested, obviously, in the independent contracting issue for obvious reasons. And all golf audiences were aware of AB 1910. But these are the kinds of things, the smaller things that go under the radar screen that don't get a lot of press, like tea time brokers in Los Angeles, but are ultimately, in terms of the long-term health of the industry, are extremely much more impactful. And just let everyone know that whether it's the NorCal PGA section or the SoCal PGA section of the two golf associations, or particularly the Golf Course Superintendents Association, as we all come together in something called the California Alliance for Golf to try to speak with one voice, we're doing it better and better and better. And I would encourage all of you to pay a little bit closer attention, because I often feel, and I've used this illusion in the past, as listening to the professionals who are all excited. We all play golf and it's very exciting and so forth. And I feel like I work in the dungeon of golf, sort of the engine room that tries to keep it exciting, not just for golf professionals, but for all those other 3 million who don't play quite as well as the golf professionals we heard from today, and certainly not as well as Michael Block, or even Scotty Scheffler for that matter, but are the heart and soul of the recreational game. And those that constitute, at least in this state, the 3 million who play it. Now, 3192 was not the only bill we tracked. There are a couple of others, but the good news is most of what we're continuing to work on this year are positive bills. There's a bill that made it out of its committee that's on its way to appropriations that would ultimately allow for more state money to be dedicated to some kinds of rebates and incentives for golf courses that go well beyond simple turf removal. Once you've removed a lot of turf, you've kind of played all the cards you're going to play. At the end of the day, we can play golf on less turf, but we're going to play on turf. We can't play on California-friendly, drought-tolerant, ground cover. I mean, you can do your front and backyard in that, but you can't do your golf course in that. So as we're seeing graduate from some of the instruments that are used in Southern California by the Metropolitan Water District or Los Angeles Water and Power that are called performance-based incentives and rebates that allow for golf courses to receive rebates for doing things other than mere turf removal. It can be turf conversion. It can be, as I'm just discovered this morning, some interesting things with doing different kinds of irrigation of tees. You can get some rebates on that if you can demonstrate performance. But to outright go to that sort of next generation of cards for those courses that have removed turf, there's much to be had in replacing not just cool season grasses with warm season grasses, but replacing certain warm season grasses with warm season Bermuda strains that actually use 20, 30, in some cases 40% less water. And even though our reservoirs are stuffed to the brim, the Sierra snowpack's at 103% after last year being at, I don't know, 140%. And even the Colorado Basin having done better. Keep in mind that we've been in drought. We're going to be in those droughts again. And longer term, 2026 and beyond, Southern California is going to have to be giving up some of its Colorado River allocation, and that is going to have some impact. Beyond that, we understand that some of the other things that we're pursuing at a state level that are a little bit too complicated for the time left in this webcast are going to cost money. Golf courses are ratepayers, and simply some of the 20th century storage techniques that came out of the massive amounts of money that were spent on the State Water Project and other things, particularly in the middle of the last century, have been a little bit, events and the climate has sort of overtaken them. And so we're almost at the end with the Sites Reservoir, which is under construction in planning, will probably be the last major above surface reservoir built in the state of California. So the techniques of storage moving forward are going to be aquifer recharge, stormwater capture, in some places where it makes some sense, desalination, potable reuse. And by the way, potable reuse is going to cut into golf's ability to cut into the non-potable reuse, or otherwise known as recycled water, because a lot of that is going to be used to create drinking water. In fact, in Los Angeles area right now, in the harbor area, under construction, probably open in the early 2030s, will be the largest potable reuse plant in the United States, perhaps even the world. So as these things begin to go forward, and as we discover that water rates, as high as the inflation rate may be at the moment, the increase in the cost of water go much faster than that. And I think everyone on this call is aware that after a lengthy period in which labor rates were artificially low by historical standards, they a couple of years ago kind of went back to sort of historically average, and now they're historically above average, and it would appear that it's going to remain that way for some time to come. So with the top two items in any golf course's expenses, or in their budget every year, being water and labor, and I've just pointed out they're going to go up, there's going to increasingly be those strains on both. I've said this in many places, and I'll say it again as we move forward. It isn't a matter of whether California is going to invest billions of dollars into the infrastructure necessary to up our supply over the 21st century. It's only a question of how it's going to be done and who's going to end up paying. So it's incumbent upon the golf industry, instead of taking that rather, I think, short-sighted view of, if it sounds like a fee or a tax, we don't think we like it, to it's coming anyway. And it can come in ways that, for example, in Los Angeles County, Measure W is a massive property tax increase. Not massive, it's a relatively mild property tax fee increase, parcel increase, that was literally applied to golf courses in about the best way possible for us. And that was only a result of having gotten engaged in the process of developing the terms. If you're on the inside, you can have that impact. If you're on the outside fighting it, you won't get invited in to structure things. So I'd be remiss if I didn't continue to make that point. And that goes a little bit beyond what I promised Len I would do, and that is focusing strictly on state issues. But it is in essence a generic issue for the game of golf. Water is the one thing we know that we have different kinds of golf courses. We have, private, we have equity clubs and non-equity clubs, resorts, daily fee, which are and municipal golf courses, which we discovered during the 1910 fight is almost 1 out of 4 in this state. And they all have slightly different focuses and slightly different interests. That's true. But the one thing that binds them all together is water, because ultimately they all need it one way or another, all need the source, all need to participate. And that's why I think I will allude a little bit to our Capital Day next Tuesday. A number of us, including, I know Len's going to be there, I'll be there. are going to traipse around Sacramento. We've traipsed a couple of times this year, specifically lobbying bills. This time it's a little bit more generic, and our meetings are going to be very, very focused on water issues. And so again, and this is the good time to focus on the water issues because we're between drought crises, which means we can get their attention. It also means we can assess what are those things that we've worked with them on developing for the golf community that worked really well during this last drought crisis, and what are the things that didn't work so well, so when we come to the next crisis, we can be better positioned. With that, I see it's 10:56, and I want to keep us on time, so I will stop talking now. Thank the two PGA sections for inviting me back, and if I've raised any questions or caused any concerns, there's still a couple of minutes to yell at me. So Len, why don't you take it back and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Craig. There's a lot there, and it keeps on getting more and more complicated. So we really appreciate you keeping us informed as to what we need to know, and we look forward. We had a wonderful Capitol Day last year, and for those that may or may not know, we're all part of the California Alliance for Golf, advocating on all of our behalves for the industry, and we have some more friends in Sacramento, which we'll be meeting on Tuesday. So, Craig, safe trip up, and we'll see you in a couple days. Okay, Mr. Addis, ready to wrap. It's all yours, Tom.
Yeah, thanks, Len. Thanks, Craig, and thanks everybody. Good luck to Kyle and Ryan and the rest of the California contingent this next week. Want everybody to remember, if you're looking for PDR credits, make sure you contact your home section to get that taken care of, whether by email or whatever means possible. Len, thanks to you, and thanks to Bryce and Steve and Michael and everybody involved with this chat. And it was a pleasure to be back with you again. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And as Tom mentioned, to Kyle and Ryan, but for everyone, actually for all of our colleagues that are in Texas for this weekend, good luck to everybody. We're certainly a little biased to our competitors from Northern California and Southern California. So we wish everybody the best and thank them for taking their time to be with us. And as Tom mentioned about the PDRs, today for us here in Northern California is also the final day for our survey that has been out there. So if you haven't done that, we would really appreciate that you jump all over the NC PGA survey. And of course, thank you, Tom, Bryce, Steve, Shelby, and Danny for putting us on air. Remember, everybody, that root for all of us, root for everybody these coming 4 days, Sunday through Wednesday, which are the tournament rounds. And then Valhalla itself, the tournament rounds are May 16 to 19, which are right around the corner. So good luck, best of health to all. Continue to look out for each other, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Have a good weekend.